Shalom, brothers and sisters. Thanks for joining me today in another episode of Yasplain, Taking Hold of a Jew. I've heard this argument several times. A lot of people that are waking up to Torah eventually start questioning the New Testament altogether and ultimately rejecting the Messiah. This is pretty alarming, and I guess it's not really surprising because a lot of folks just didn't have a firm, stable grasp on the scriptures anyway. So now they're listening to these anti-messiahs, these anti-Christ, these anti-New Testament teachers. They're waking up to realize a lot of things that are written in the New Testament have been twisted or manipulated or have a Greek slant or influence. And it's good to question things, but I think it's important that we don't just throw out the baby with the bathwater, right? That we question things, and before we just dismiss it and throw the entire New Testament away, and especially our Mashiach, that we take the time to study, we put stuff on the back burner if we don't understand it, and we reason together, we look for these things. So one of these verses that I see quite frequently actually is this verse in Zechariah chapter 8, verse 23. And this is what a lot of people will say in the Torah community. They'll say, "Oh, we should be learning from the Jews. They were faithful and kept the Torah, this and that." And I'm like, well, no, actually, they didn't. When the Messiah came about in his time of day, he was having to bring back the Torah. He was, condemning these Pharisees and these Sadducees and these people who had usurped the authority of the priesthood and the temple and all the practices, and they were putting the thumb on the people with doctrines of men, with the Talmud, with all these oral traditions and things that, just weren't in the Torah. And so the Messiah came to correct this stuff, and he heavily rebuked the Jews for this, for what they were doing. And you can't really just say Jews, it's not fair, because there are faithful people within any religion or sect or tribe or whatever. So you can't just do a blanket statement to say that, oh, it's all the Jews, right? It's those who are in power and who are in authority. So this verse right here in Zechariah chapter 8, verse 23, "Thus says Yahuwah Sevuoth, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold out of all languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Yehudi, saying, we will go with you, for we have heard that Elohim is with you." It's that word Yehudi, Yehudim, Yahuda, from Judah, a Jew. That's how it's translated. So, and it's talking about taking hold of that skirt. That word skirt is kanaf. It means wings. And so you can think of the wings of a tzitzit, right? The wings of the Talith, right? And so people want to use this verse to say, well, let's talk to modern day Jews and learn from them. And I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying, is that what this verse is talking about? Have you ever thought that maybe this Yehudi that this verse is specifically talking about could be the Messiah? Because he is from Judah, right? Isn't he the lion's whelp? Isn't he from Judah? In Genesis 49, 9 through 10, it says, "Yehuda is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, you are gone up. He stooped down, he crouched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Yehuda, nor a Torah giver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be." So are the gathering of the people unto the tribe of Judah? Wait a minute. These same people who are wanting us to turn to modern day Judaism say, well, the Messiah, he can't be a priest. He can't be our high priest because he's not from Levi. Well, right here, this prophecy that came prior to Levi says that the scepter shall not depart from Yehuda, nor the Torah from between his feet. So the Torah is from Yehuda, the lawgiver, as is translated oftentimes. So that argument kind of falls apart there. In Hebrews chapter 7:14, it says, "For it is evident that our Adonai, our Mashiach, he sprang out of Yehuda, of which tribe Moshe spoke nothing about the priesthood." So the priesthood was not mentioned coming from Yehuda. And further on in Hebrews, it talks about that the Messiah can't be a priest here on earth because he doesn't fit into that Levitical tribe. He's the heavenly priest, the made in a temple without hands, right? So he is there on our behalf at the right hand of Yahuwah. And so he is our high priest in the heavenly temple. The earthly temple was just a shadow picture. It was just a schoolmaster to teach us, to point us to the eternal one, the Mashiach, who is standing in the gap on our behalf in the heavenly temple, which is above, right? Because he is from above. He was given a new body, resurrected, never to die again. And so he's not like the Levitical priest who had to be replaced because they kept on dying. They kept on doing these sacrifices. They kept on doing this, and they would turn away and do this and that. But our high priest is not a Levite. He is from Judah. And so we follow his commandments, what he says to do. Revelation 5:5, it says, "And one of the elders said unto me, Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has prevailed to open the Sefer, to loose the seven seals." So Levi's not going to open the seals for us to give us the understanding to enter into the gates, enter into the door of heaven, to enter into those mansions, to be resurrected. That's not going to come through Levi. That's coming through Judah. The Messiah is from Judah. And the Messiah told us, he said, "If you love me, guard my commandments." John 14:15. So what is he talking about? Did the Messiah make up his own commandments and say, "Here, follow me, become a Christian"? No, he wasn't trying to get people to follow him and his own will, his own purpose. He says in John 15:10, "If you guard my commandments, you shall abide in my love, even as I have guarded my Father's commandments, and abide in his love." So Yahusha's commandments are Yahuwah's commandments, right? And that's what he was doing, is bringing the people back. The lost sheep, the 10 men from the nations, from the languages, the 10 lost tribes will grab onto this man, this Yahudi, this Jewish man, and it's through him that we are redeemed, that we are brought back, that the new covenant from the house of the tribe of Judah, the house of the tribe of Israel, is reunited through this one man. He is the one who is our heavenly high priest, who was faithful, who gave his life as a sacrifice, a sacrificial life that was precious to the Father. And there's no good thing that Yah would withhold from us. And so he gave us this gift of grace to enter into his kingdom through his son. This was his plan, to do that through his son, who just happens to be from Judah, right? Luke 1:6, it says, this is talking about Zacharias and Elizabeth, the parents of John the Baptist, says, "And they, both of them, were both righteous before Elohim." How were they righteous before Elohim? They were walking in all the commandments and ordinances of Yahuwah, blameless. So when you are following and keeping the commands, you are not guilty. There's no blame. There's no penalty. So when we're in covenant, when we are following the Messiah, when we are keeping the commandments, there is no condemnation. We cannot be condemned because we are walking in righteousness. We are walking in commandments. Righteousness is right doing. We are loving Yah, keeping his commandments, loving our neighbors, keeping his commandments, fulfilling his purpose, his perfect will, right? And so that's what walking in righteousness is to follow the commandments, not to break laws, not to be a lawbreaker. You're either a lawbreaker or you're a law abider, right? You abide by the law keeper. You guard the commandments. You guard the Torah. You put it in your heart, and it changes your heart. The template or the tablets of your heart, that's where you get changed as a person, is when you put the word, the spirit. Yahusha said that your word is truth and your word is spirit. When we put Yah's word, his Torah, his spirit into our heart, it changes us from the inside out. It makes us into a new creation. We stop following the ways of the world or our own ways, but we follow his way, his path that he set out before us. It is set apart, and our flesh does not want to do it. Paul says in Romans 8 that we are enmity to the Torah. Our flesh does not want to keep the commandments, but it's through the Spirit that we've been endued with this power to be able to keep the commandments, to be able to be faithful, to be able to understand and read and compare spiritual things with spiritual things. And Yah has done that through his Son and has given that to us. It's not going to come through keeping commandments given to us through Levi necessarily, but it's to keep us. It's through that gift of the Messiah that he is saying, hey, keep the commandments just as I kept the commandments, because my Father, the Spirit, gave the commandments. Those are the words that came down from heaven on that day, right? And we read in Malachi chapter 4, verses 1 through 2, it says, for behold, the day comes that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day comes that shall burn them up, says Yahuwah Sevaoth, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings. That's that same word, kanaf, the skirts in Zechariah. And ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. He shall go forth. You shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. So the Son of Righteousness, the S-O-N, came, he healed many that were sick, many that were diseased, and it's still being done today. Healing is still available through the Son of Righteousness. And so just like the woman reached out and grabbed onto the wings of his either his tzitzits or his clothing, she grabbed on it and was healed. And so the wings of righteousness, just like a hen covers, it protects its young ones. And so we are his people, and his people are defined by what they do and what they say and what they spend their time focusing on. And if Yahuwah gave us his word from above, he gave us his Son to show us how to do it, to give us an image of himself, to be able to see what it looks like to walk in the Spirit, to walk in the spirit of love, to be able to be forgiving, to be able to be a sacrifice for others, to minister to people, to heal people, to correct people. That's our example. The Mashiach is our example. You can't look at the tribe of Levi or anybody in the Levitical priesthood and say, that's how you do it. No, it came from Judah, a man from Judah, that the nations are brought back. 10 men, representing 10 nations, the lost tribes of Israel. When Messiah says, go not unto the nations, but unto the lost sheep, those are who God is calling back, the remnant. He's bringing his people back. And the question is, do you want to be a part of that? Do you want to be a part of his remnant? Do you want to be a part of those chosen, that elect that he called out before the foundation of this world to be righteous and holy in his name, in the name of the Son? Do you want to be a part of that kingdom? The choice is yours. I pray that you'll do it. I pray that you'll look for the word. I pray that you'll study the word, and I pray that you'll pray, because the Father knows our hearts. He knows what's best for us. So just trust him. Trust him and obey. Shalom. Have you subscribed yet? Why not? What's taking so long? You got nothing to lose, only to gain. Go ahead, click, subscribe, share, like. Cost you nothing.